to kick us off. And I'm going to just be honest, I'm not going to be too theatrical.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the emergency room. I'm Louis, and
I'm Georgia.
yeah, it's today's episode is going to be a bit more chill, a bit more informal.
Yeah,
Buckle up, get some popcorn, get a drink.
yeah, we're following on from Jen Fazola's amazing discussion. Um, so if you've not seen that episode, highly recommend that one. But yeah, we're just going to be having a nice chill conversation about creativity today. We've been in the youth collective since 2024, so this is going to be our last year in the youth collective now. So we're just gonna
So
yeah
sad.
have a wonderful. I know it's been a good couple of years, but we're just gonna have a nice chat about creativity, a little bit about ourselves, be a little bit vain this episode. So yeah.
Yeah, and maybe even a therapist episode. I was speaking
Hmm.
to Georgia before we began, and I said I'm going through some problems with design and creativity, so maybe I might share them, see if anyone
Yeah.
can relate. Any advice?
Yeah. And
Mm.
I've been going through some imposter syndrome with stop
Mm.
motion, so I'm gonna also be screaming into the void this episode. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite interested to get into by imposter syndrome because I think I've had a bit of that recently, and
Mm.
it's quite destructive on your own thinking, and yeah, you
Yeah.
feel like you're not doing enough, and you're comparing yourself to previous times where you feel like you're doing better,
Oh my
and
God. I don't know if it's just you or like just me or whether it's like a general thing, but I just feel like time is going so fast lately. Like I think since coming out of lockdown and everything, it's just I've found and I think, I'm 24 and I feel like I am like comparing myself to my peers so much and it is just such an issue. And I think creative people especially I saw recently I heard recently in the discussion that like people who have creative pathways are normally a bit more behind their peers. Like you'll compare yourself to people with like quote unquote normal careers, and you'll feel quite immature about it. And I think, yeah, I think that's something that is tricky for creatives, especially. I don't know about yourself, Louis, but I know you've just come out. If you've done a year long internship, have you?
yeah, you're so true about in the creative industry. There is a bit of like a bit of embarrassment. Like whenever someone asks me what do I do, I'm like, well, I'm not an architect. I'm an architectural assistant, and it's a part one, and it's like it's so extended. It's not just like a nice cute little title. It's like yeah, you feel like you're underaccomplished, you're behind, still a long way to go, and that's after doing like 4 years of education of a uni level, and yeah, and I've been in practice for a year, and it just yeah, I guess I don't know when will that feeling subside and will it ever subside?
But you've done so well this past year because we last saw each other summertime when we had the youth collective meetup and you were just going into your internship. So what do you feel has like changed in that time? Do you feel like you've got better insight into, your own creative practice and things?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's been humbling, especially because the people that I'm working with are so competent and they really do perform their job to like a very high standard.
Mm.
And it's different when you're at uni. Obviously it's academic, it's theoretical, it's there's a lot of room to kind of have fun and it's less serious. And then you go into a job and it's like it's not it didn't happen all at once. I think the company I work with is like incredible. Like they really do kind of incrementally give you more and more responsibilities. But
Mm.
yeah, I've definitely proved a lot to myself. But it's like the more you know, the less you know. And it's just like you just feel
Yeah.
more and more lost, and it's easy to kind of slip away into that feeling where it's like it's such a long way to go. Like I don't know, just where you feel a bit like I don't know, you're a bit lost. But
Mm.
but yeah, I don't know. What about yourself, Georgia? Because you've just started as well, and I know yours is quite full on. So you want
Yeah,
to share that a
so
little bit?
yeah, I do stop motion animation. So the last stop motion animation I did was actually during lockdown. So my imposter syndrome is coming a bit from I had this like very intense year of I did an animation and I was quite proud of it, very happy taking it around and it's very much like what you can do next. And I've come into the real world. I do part-time work elsewhere and things, but I've had this one project. I've been doing it for the past 5 years now, and it's, you know, I've still not animated a single frame of it. I've been making puppets, I've been making sets, I've just been, when I can, working on it. But I feel very much an imposter calling myself a stop motion animator at this moment. It's like I've not actually moved a puppet since lockdown, which is like a bit crazy. But yeah, it's just been, I guess, a few years of figuring things out. And I've had, feast and famine with creative placements. I've been very lucky. I've done some puppet making recently. I've done a few adverts. There's an amazing company in Altrincham, McKinnon Saunders, who kind of took me under the wing the past year, which has been amazing. And I've learned so much, like you say, Louis, the more you start learning, the more you realize that, oh my God, there's like so much to go. And there's like, just as like one little thing. So there's so many parts of puppet making, like, you do your armature, which is like your metal skeleton that all the puppets have in them. But then there's also like silicon casting, and then there's also like, making the clothes, and there's loads of different branches that you just feel you just have to commit a lifetime
Yeah.
to specialize in just one of these things. So yeah, it is kind of eye-opening to find out how much there is that you don't know. But at the same time, I feel very lucky, but I also feel very apprehensive about how I will get to this big overarching goal. But you mentioned yourself at the start that you're struggling with your own design project. So is the what's this next worry for you? Because to me, you seem like you're doing amazing because you've just come out with this, amazing placement, and like the world is your oyster. But I guess that's pretty scary as well.
It is. I think there's something quite daunting in architecture where it's like you do your undergraduate, then you do your placement year, and then you just kind of expected to rush back into your masters.
Mm.
And yeah, there's a lot of like convincing yourself like, no, I'm ready for this. Like, I'm ready for this, and I'm sure I will be. But at the same time, it's just like everything's moving so fast, and it's like I just kind of want to, I don't know, just fall back a little bit and just take stuff in and kind of design at my own pace. And but then if I did that, then I'd probably be beating myself up, saying I'm not moving fast enough, and it's just kind of really hard to find your footing. But yeah, I think my next steps is going into my masters, and I think I don't want to necessarily reinvent my style, but
Mm.
I need to be very creatively inspired, and I feel like I should be flowing with ideas. And I think a lot of the times I'm just kind of stuck at a wall, and my thinking feels very circular, and it feels like sometimes I don't know, no
Yeah.
new profound thoughts are entering the brain, and I'm just like, gosh, how am I expected to complete a master's degree with this, with what I have now?
But your world to me seems so like massive, like the architecture. I mean, didn't you live in Hong Kong for a while, and isn't that part of like getting inspiration is like traveling around the world? Is that what the masters would involve?
Yeah, I think, yeah, like I've realized, without sounding cliche, it really is about the journey.
Mm.
You can put so much like into the final product, and I'm going to be here, and I'm going to get this, and I'm going to attain this degree and get this job. But a lot of it has just kind of come from being present and just kind of, for me, like I thought traveling was really good because there's a lot of inspiration around, and but not only was it the traveling, it was also I realized that I was also just very inspired about wherever I was, because obviously we live in the north. You being from Liverpool,
Mm.
I'm from Manchester, and I think I got an appreciation when I started to step outside of these areas that I grew up in, how much inspiration is actually just around me, and how much my character has been shaped around where I am.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was nice to see these different places and to get a bit of perspective and a bit of like cross cultural kind of understanding, and it's very helpful in order to kind of, I don't know, maybe open your horizon. But to me, it more kind of shined a mirror at myself and helped me
Mm.
realize that myself as a designer and my little kind of where my characters have come from, especially growing up in the north. Like, yeah, but yes, that's what it made me realize. I just got to kind of appreciate where you are and what's brought it to this point,
Yeah.
because you are you. You can go searching for it in other places, and and it can be helpful, but you sometimes it's good to kind of take some steps back and kind of think of how you became you in the first place and what inspired you. And so yeah, I know I was going off on a tangent there, but that year kind of when I studied in Hong Kong, it wasn't necessarily that the elements of Hong Kong that were inspiring. It was more like coming back home and realizing how inspired I was around the place I grew up in Manchester.
Yeah.
Uh, I was because we have kind of taken a bit of a maybe we haven't taken a detour. It's hard to say, but I do wonder about growing up in Liverpool because I think there's so much energy in the north, like in Manchester, Liverpool. We're like these underdogs of the UK, but we produce such talent, like artistically, musically,
Yeah.
architecturally. Like there's so much there, and I wonder if that shaped your character, or if your approach, or anything
Oh,
about you.
definitely. Even like we were saying, it's something that I think when I was younger, I had like a phase of being embarrassed about being from Liverpool because it was like almost like, oh, it's like scummy having that accent and everything. But then you grow up and you realize how like unique and special it is to have like, to grow up in this place and yeah, I feel like we're all a bit self-deprecating, being from Britain and everything. Like I love if you ever go in the Liverpool Museum and you go on the top floor and they've got all these statistics on the walls and it's like number one for heart failure in the UK, number one for pollution, and you think, oh my God. But it is just like such a we I feel like it is just such a funny city, and we've got like, so many beautiful buildings, so much history, not all good history. There's a lot of like, you know, trades. It's not very good that went on in Liverpool, but it is just an so it is something that you grow up and you do feel more proud of, and even like I'm sure like Manchester, I feel like we're very similar. We don't like to say that we're similar, but
Yeah,
I think we are very similar, Liverpool, Manchester, and yeah, it's yeah, I wouldn't like say you grow up and you get like this newfound appreciation for the things that you used to. It's like you loved them as a kid, then you go through like an embarrassment phase, and then you realize that
yeah,
you that is who you were, and you do get a
yeah.
newfound love.
There's so much truth to that. Like, yeah, you do almost like resent it and reject it because it's who you
Mm.
are. And I don't know, it's like that rebellion phase as a kid where you kind of like you're trying to be something else and you're trying to ignore everything that made you that person to begin with. And then I think there's like an acceptance, like where you're like, this is who I am. This is where I'm from. This is like, yeah, that this expect when you talk about Liverpool, that picture like the first train went through Liverpool to Manchester,
Oh,
and then it
wow.
kind of then China kind of took a lot of inspiration and just that kind of post-industrial uh, that architecture is really embedded in the cities and in like the way the cities are built up. And this is what I'm saying. Like you go to Hong Kong and it is incredible. It's contemporary. You've got these skyscrapers, but Manchester, it's got all these scars of like history,
Oh God,
and
I
you just
love
don't
just
know.
like the industrial, like it's like rail tracks built upon
Yeah,
rail tracks in Manchester, and you get like a tunnel built upon a tunnel, and it's just like this crazy just amalgamation. I would love to just like walk. I know it's probably like really filthy, but I would just love to walk along the canals and just see, under all those like bridges and bits of water. And I always think what I'd love to do is drain the dock as well. That'd be like if I was like a billionaire, I would like invest in like a robot that could go down to the bottom of the docks in Liverpool and just find all these like bits of treasure because it was just
yeah.
a big X-ray of all the docks. I would love it. Yeah, there is so much cool things, so much history just like on your doorstep. It is
It's like when you go into Liverpool Lime Street and you have to, I don't know, like, you go through like a tunnel almost as you get into it. Do you know what I'm on about? Where like you're going through
yeah,
the
yeah.
train station. Yeah,
And all the walls will get up and start standing up and you're like, no, 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 no. We've still
yeah.
got a good like 5 minutes of tunnels to go.
Oh
Hang on.
yeah, yeah, yeah. People will stand up and yeah, I knew. Yeah, at first I was like that. I'm like, we must be getting on, and you just
Then
feel like you're
one
going
of
through the
us,
abyss.
one of us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I miss it. Yeah.
Yeah. Is
Uh,
there any particular like building or place that inspires you the most?
uh, well, this is what I was saying about when I went to Hong Kong, and like I say, it's very contemporary, very innovative. Like, you feel inspired. You're walking, you're looking up, like your head couldn't even go any further unless you're going to snap your spine. That's sort of what like buildings are. And at first, like it's like jaw dropping.
Mm.
But then, yeah, going back to Manchester, especially where I'm from, which is like Dukinfield, like Ashton, probably maybe like one person who watches this might know what that is, but or maybe not, maybe. But yeah, like I say, there's lots of canals, very post-industrial. A lot of like the buildings are made from like local materials, like the sandstone, all that kind of stuff, it does kind of, and that comes from a time when you didn't have like cranes and stuff, and just the innovation and the how fast the industry was moving. You feel inspired by it. Like I remember my dad kind of spoke about it, and he used to take me to like these museums where they talk about the trains and the canals and stuff. And I couldn't genuinely couldn't think of anything more boring when I was like 7 years old. I was like, brilliant, like nice. Like, what am I going to do with this? And now it's like come full circle. Now I'm like,
Yeah.
have you seen the canals? Have you seen the boats? Like it's like, but so it is a bit about what you said about you kind of reject it, or maybe you don't care for it as much. But
Mm,
yeah, I draw so much inspiration from England and the north of England.
yeah.
Yeah,
I love there's like London Road as you go in to town in Liverpool, and it is a state. It's so tatty now. It's just got like, loads of vape shops and things, but then you look up at all the old buildings and a lot of them are just like crumbling to bits, but they're just so beautiful. And like if you sit on the top deck of the bus, even though it's like a really rough road at the bottom of the road, you just look up and you see it, even like all the abandoned like Everton Library, and you just like look at the abandoned picture and think, oh my God, this is gorgeous. Like Liverpool Council fix it, but it is like, there is beauty even in like the grimy bits of the city. I think it is so lovely
yeah,
to yeah.
Liverpool is incredible. Do you know, like by the docks we had like the Liver building, and you had them like
Mhm.
huge white buildings, and it just feels that kind of classical. Like you feel like you're in like a new Rome or something. Like I don't know. The Liverpool is really really quite nice. I think that's where like my parents go for a getaway out of Manchester. They go to Liverpool, and they talk about it like they just come back from like I don't know, like the Maldives or something. It's like they just went to Liverpool. I'm like, no,
Oh.
no, no, but we went to this place, and then we went to, and it's like, yeah, I guess.
So what would be your like, you do so much design work for like these big companies where it's like very big and collaborative, but what is like your personal projects? Do you ever do like, drawings, or do you make like miniatures? Or I know you showed me, did your spoons, you were whittling the spoons, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Is that like your like breaking away from the bigger projects that you do, or have you got like a secret building that you've got like a Batman lair somewhere that you're not telling us about?
No, I definitely don't have a layer yet, but no, I've noticed like it's so important that this is about being a creative. You're getting paid to be creative,
Mm,
but and you can almost feel like a chore, a bit like torturous, having to do think creatively. So I
mm.
like to kind of give myself little projects, whether it's like sketching here and there, or like, yeah, whittling like a nice funky spoon, or yeah, or just doing a bit of woodwork, or picking up stuff I don't know. Like I made like a Bluetooth speaker the other day, like with a bit of soldering,
Oh,
and like that went wrong horrendously. But then in the end, I got there, and it was a nice learning curve. And uh, but yeah, that was like a nice little break, a project where I don't feel like I have to commit too much. It's only for
mm,
myself, but I get to
yeah.
express myself. And I was having this conversation with a colleague about, especially in architecture, like it's such a like there's not I don't think there's a lot of self-expression in terms of like people know not in necessarily my firm where people are coming in shirts and chinos or whatever, but people aren't like covered in tattoos or dyeing their hair crazy colors or like expressing
Mm.
themselves as I think I'd like to see. So sometimes it feels like I can be quite contained, like I have to be very professional and very like LinkedIn, like say the perfect like automated response to all conversation. But sometimes I want to be a bit more expression, and I want to be, yeah, I don't know, I want to. Like I'm constantly doing things in my hair, my facial hair, like my getting piercings and stuff. And I have a bit of guilt and shame about like, oh no, I work in this field, but I'm like, architecture was inspired by people like that were willing to push boundaries and to express and to not necessarily fit into like conforms and like we have to follow these rules. And as much as that is important, like building, I'm not putting down building regulations. Before the planning authorities come from me, I do. It's important that we have things in place, and that shouldn't
Yeah.
change. But yeah, I just sometimes I think it's hard to express yourself in a field that that is artistic but is also STEM based. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've had that in your industry or if it's just more of a something that I'm dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of like stop motion is very like geeky people, so it's very like I mean there are some like really cool people that like express themselves, have loads of style, but I feel like a lot of us are just like very geeky and will kind of dress like a bit like dress down a bit scruffy. It is tricky though because I know what you mean when you're like working on like a big project. Like I've done like a couple adverts with like some companies and there's been so many people on it that it's like you'll be doing something like punching fair into a puppet and obviously like you accept that this is like somebody else's big grand vision but you do feel a bit like you know you it's like you want to help more. You feel like you might. It's tricky though, because obviously we're only just starting out. Really, this is like the place that not like we should. I don't. I'm not saying that. Oh, I should be directing this advert. I should have the say in what color fair we use. But yeah, there is a bit of I don't know. What was the question? I've gone off topic.
No, I think you were kind of getting at
Yeah,
like you got to play by the rules a little bit. Like you can't
yeah.
be too like
Playing by the rules.
yeah, you
Yeah,
can't go out there like suddenly thinking you're this and that and like just doing whatever you want. You kind of have to work within the boundaries and
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, was definitely not a question. It was more me
Oh
just
yeah.
just offloading and just saying pretty much
I,
anything.
I get what you say because I feel like I almost want to be more like more honest and vulnerable with people and like you want to like make those connections but at first you feel like you need to be like quiet and like kind of like get the feel for how everybody else works and try and like slot yourself in. It's quite a tricky thing and I feel like especially our generation it's the even trickier thing because I mean I didn't go to university and I almost feel like like you guys at the art emergency you're like so cool and I've got to try and like sneak in and be one of yous and get in, and go and be low key and like
Yeah.
have you not noticed that I secretly don't fit in? But I'm sure we all feel that, and yeah, I feel like we not to harp on like oh whoa our generation, but I feel like we are like all of us secretly just want to be loved, and we're all just trying to connect very poorly with each other. Like there's a lot of bravado, I think, with like like we were even saying like comparing ourselves with our peers, like trying to do creative careers and feeling really behind people, and you're like comparing yourself with people you went to school with, and I'm like, oh my God, my best friend's just like bought like a £30,000 car, and I'm still like trying to get enough money together to buy some paint for a puppet, and I'm like, oh, it's just things
Yeah.
like that is, yeah. But no, I think it's something that it is hard try being being our age and trying to get into something creative now because just I mean I don't know about like architecture and things but the state of like stop motion and like film funds and everything is just like I've been pretty down trying to get this project started because don't get me wrong they've been very lovely helpful people but when you go to like the BFI and pitch and trying to get this film done and they're like oh no it's it doesn't fit into like our million standards and we've only got like this tiny little pot that we can only give to very few people and you've got to check all these boxes and I was getting feedback that was like oh this film it's not got a narrative it's not narrative enough and you have to have it done within the year and I'm like I'm not gonna have it done within the year so then you go to like art council and I'm like art council please I want to do a stop motion animation and they go no that's a narrative, that's a film, go to film funds, and you think,
Yeah.
no, it's just like you feel you get passed from pillar to post, and it does feel quite like hopeless when you just want to, please, I want to make something. I mean, that was a bit of a ramble, but yeah, I feel like it's tricky when and I mean, there's just so many people, so amazingly talented, creative people, and so little opportunities, is what I feel like, and it's just not to get like too, you know, political and everything, but it is just like the state of the world right now. It feels like art is just not as valued as it should be, which is a shame. But yeah,
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I completely agree. And it's very like misleading because you kind of think the current state of art is in this kind of this beautiful kind of 21st century, like boundaries have been broken, anything can this and like things like and things like you should be progressing at, or, we are progressing, technology is progressing,
Mm,
especially with AI, everything's just accelerating like crazy. But yet you just feel like art it can be so like contained and I'm getting a notification saying we're running out of time.
about 10
But yeah,
minutes.
yeah, we'll ignore that. But yeah, it does feel very contained and quite suffocating, especially for me. Like when it comes to me, in order for me to be creative, I cannot work on a timesheet. I know, like obviously you have to, and that uni you kind of taught to learn work on within time, very important. But sometimes like creativity it doesn't work on time. It doesn't work on it comes at like the most random hour and the most random thought and it doesn't just get given to you, it really takes you have to kind of weed it out and you have to kind of refine it and you have to express it and it has to kind of be passed back and it needs to go through so many processes. But then in like the industry, it just feels like it's supposed to just come out like the first time it's like a good idea and maybe it sees a bit of workshopping and then that's it, it's off. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really wish creativity was more funded, uh,
Mm,
and and I wish there was more tolerance. I know I'm not going to be the one to have a solution for it, but I really wish there was more tolerance for design. And it's not every project is the same, and I don't know how
yeah.
that is factored in, but yeah, it's quite
Just
suffocating.
just taking risks, isn't it? Because it's like, I see skyscrapers going up that all just look like copy paste. And think if they give it, to the cool architects with, the beers and the piercings, they might have a better idea and, just take a chance and things. And, like, going back again to like Liverpool having so many like derelict buildings that are just like rotting away. And if we just put, I mean, I don't have all the answers, but I'm sure there's enough resources to help, to give like an up and coming architect like yourself, the opportunity to fix up this building and repair the library and redesign things and I think yeah it's just there's a lot of greed and like squirreling money away in the current. I mean, it's probably always been like that, but I think it is more so like, in the 90s, where I'd come back to animation, but Channel 4 used to just commission like any rubbish to like go on and they'll play it on TV and it'll just be like this like there was like a golden age, and I know there always is a golden age, but there was a golden age of like animation when all this just mad nonsense was on TV, and it was just like it bare things like Aardman and just like people getting chances to do mad things. There's not enough risk taken now. I mean, it's like I say, you want to do a short film. You're in the UK. Your one main thing is a BFI film fund, and then it's like, oh yeah, you've got to check like all these boxes, and there's also like millions of people going for it. Good luck. That's what it feels a bit like. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I think it's the same in architecture. I hear it all the time by seniors about how the 2000s you could just build anything, like anything was getting built like this, and so I don't know
yeah,
what happened, whether it was a recession or who knows, but
yeah.
yeah, so much changed and yeah, it's a very competitive, it's a very suffocating place, I think.
But not to end it on like too of a pessimistic note. I
Yeah,
think
you're right.
there is always hope. I'm quite a hypocrite saying this, but I try every day. I do a little bit more towards it. I get myself very frustrated that it's like 5 years, 5 years, and I'm not animated and I'm still making these things. But I think you've got to just keep going because that's all you can do. And one day there might just be the opportune time that you're sketching away and somebody looks over your shoulder and they go, "What's that? I love it. I want to make it. Let's build it. I'm a millionaire. I want it in my back garden." It could. I feel like you've got to keep
Yeah,
doing, even if it's nonsense, even if it's soldering a circuit board. You gotta do it. It's like,
you're right. And you know what? That leads me on to another thing, another quarrel of mine, Roger, is I'm sc- especially at uni, though, you're not scared to be wrong. Like I say, it's academic. You're meant to be wrong. It's meant to be critiqued and assessed, and you're meant to get your answers back. But it's like in practice, it really is like a there's and rightly so because it's serious stuff and you do need to know what you're doing. But it feels like there's very little room to admit you're wrong. You feel like
Mm.
everything you has to say, you can't be saying stupid stuff. Like I say, time is money. It's like, but that's kind of how like that's how children are raised. Children are raised to ask questions and to say their own thing, to learn from the mistakes, to think about it, to play, go away, play, maybe do the same thing again, maybe do it a bit differently. But then it's like become an adult and it's just like, there's no room to play anymore.
Yeah.
And I
I
find that really
I
because I want to be wrong. I like being wrong,
yes.
but it's like you
I
have to be
lo
right.
I love a stupid question. It's my favorite thing when people ask like a really simple I love just like asking questions and being daft about things. I don't know anything that I'm doing. But I always get like, oh, how did you do that? And I go, I really don't know how you build a tiny kitchen sink, but I'm gonna try and build a tiny kitchen sink. And I just love asking daft questions. I think we need more daft questions all the time with everything.
Yeah, bring back daft
It's
questions. The emergency room. Maybe that's the title of this podcast. Bring back
bring
daft questions.
back daft questions.
Yeah, no, because I think that would help a lot with the anxiety and yeah, you'd because we are people are very smart, but we made to feel very stupid. And I say this
Mm,
all the time, like, especially like the solder and the woodwork stuff. It's what I've realized is doing things like yourself at like almost like the first principle, like yeah, like with the wood, or like you're working on something and then you're building something rather than just be given this final product, and it's so confusing. And like your phone, it's sealed up, and I don't even know where it's sealed, and it just has these buttons on it, and I have
yeah.
no idea how it works, and I don't think about it any more than that because it's
Mm,
just like I'm too stupid to know anything else. I've not
yeah.
even gone and researched it. And I think the
But so
world is full of these kind of traps where you just think it's too much, too complicated. I'm not even going to think about it. And then I
yeah.
think we stopped being critical about the world and thinking.
Hmm.
But yes,
You are right, because it's like we're overwhelmed with so much stuff. We have so much like things going on all the time that you don't have a chance to just stop and ask a question. Like I've not even thought about that, what's inside my phone, but now I want to know what's inside my phone. Oh, like we just don't get the time. People come up with ideas when they're like bored. And people don't have the chance now to be bored. Your phone is always going off. There's always something else you have to do. There's always like I have to change my bed. There's always like, I have to do the laundry, I have to do, I have to cook something, I have to cook what am I having for dinner? What's my phone? What's the text on my phone? Oh, I've got this, there's always something clogging up the brain. And I think that people were possibly more creative back in the day because you had those like stretches of boredom. Like even when you're on the bus and things, you put on headphones and you listen to music or you listen to a podcast. People go on walks and they fill their heads with things, and it's just I think to be creative you need to have some silence and some time to reflect and be bored and be
and really allow that curiosity to kind of
yeah
dance with you. You
and
know,
scream
just
your stupid questions.
yeah, bring back that questions. Like we need it.
Mm.
Like we're too scared of asking the simple stuff, and I think it's designed, like I say, it's designed that way because of the world we live in. It needs to be like consumerism. It needs to be here now, fast, quick, quick. Everything needs to be. It needs to get your attention. It needs to look good, and it needs to be appealing. And we constantly, and we're feeding that back into ourselves, and yeah, I think it's destroying it's destroying a lot of people's ambitions and their creative autonomy because they think, oh, it's already been done, or
Yeah.
no point going down there, or what's the point? And I think it can make people feel a bit hopeless. And then yeah, at the same time, yeah, you need to put your bed sheets on, or you need to
Yeah.
make your food, and then yeah, there's only so many hours in the day, and yeah, and then you say your friend's got a car and you're struggling to get the paint, and you just think, where do my priorities lie? Like I don't have time to be curious.
Mm.
I need to do this. So yeah, it can feel quite suffocating.
But it's reassuring to know that lots of people, our age, our generation, are feeling like this. It's I get in my head a lot and think that, You know, like you're very isolated by all these things that are going on around you, and you start thinking that you're the only one. But I think I'm hypocritical saying this, but we have time. I say as we've got less than a minute on this timer, but we have time.
I've
Is
got
the
is the
less than a minute it says.
oh god, this could be the shortest episode of the emergency room.
But ending it on that note, we have time.
Yeah, we do have time. This is a beautiful